I am Raghupati, Executive Director of CII Shorabji Godrej Green Business Center. I am in charge of the Green Business Center activities, which is involved in promoting green technologies, green practices across the country. Somewhere in 2007, we launched what is called Mission on Sustainable Growth. In the Mission of Sustainable Growth, we developed a 10-point agenda to conserve natural resources and conserve natural capital, to conserve natural resources like water, energy, materials, etc., and minimize toxicity. So that was a 10-point agenda initiated by Mr. Jamshed Godrej, the chairman of the Green Business Center, and Mr. Seshasai, who is the past president of CII, and he was the president in the year 2007. And this initiative is a voluntary campaign. We requested many of the Indian companies to adopt this voluntary code of conduct. Nearly 600 companies signed the code on Mission on Sustainable Growth. Out of 600 companies, nearly 70% of them made substantial progress. They made a lot of investments in terms of material conservation, energy conservation, water conservation. They have achieved substantial savings. Several companies have achieved savings to the extent of 1 crore, 2 crores on materials. So it was felt, yes, the companies have made progress related to the natural conservation, natural resources saving. How do we measure it? How do we evaluate the companies doing well or not? So this was the discussion we had in the year 2009-2010. Then we realized there's a need for measurement, the need for metrics. So in the year 2012, we launched what is called a green company rating called GreenCo. GreenCo is a first of its kind in the world, where the CII Green Business Center has taken the lead and initiated this concept. Nowhere else, other part of the world, this has not been done. And in fact, all other people, some of the leading organizations in the world are looking at CII, how this is performing, and so that they can adopt it over a period of time. So this was initiated early part of the year 2012. As on today, 70 companies have embraced this concept of GreenCo, and it is applicable for a manufacturing company as well as a service company. Here what we do is, we measure the performance of the company in terms of what is their environmental performance. For example, you take energy efficiency. We compare what is the performance of that energy efficient company from the point of what is the projects that are implemented, what is the specific energy consumption, how does it compare with the world best performance and national best performance. If they are close to the national best, they get about 70% of the marks in energy efficiency. If they are close to world best, they get 100% of the marks in that activity. Similarly, we talk about water conservation. How much the company has saved its own water consumption? Is it the lowest unit of water consumption per year per meter cube of their production, or per ton of the product, or per unit of the product? If they are lowest in the nation, they get high marks. If they are lowest in the world, they get very high marks. Similarly, we also see what is the percentage of renewable energy of that company with respect to overall energy generation. If every company should have at least 3 to 5% of their energy requirements should come from renewable energy. There are certain excellent green companies who have about 30 to 40% of their energy requirements coming from green power. There are certain engineering companies, textile companies, cement companies having more than 50% of their energy. Cement company is an energy intensive company. For energy intensive company to have higher percentage of renewable energy is a challenge. So we find a lot of energy efficient companies, some foundry companies, cement companies have a significant percentage of their share as a renewable energy. In fact, these companies, by pursuing green, they actually saved money and they made more profit. That's the beauty of this system. So we find how much is the contribution of renewable energy in their activity. Second, how that company is measuring their greenhouse gas emissions. First, do they have a system to measure the greenhouse gas emissions? Whether do they have a system to control the greenhouse gas emissions, and how they are minimizing the greenhouse gas emissions. Second, and the most important thing finally is, does their specific intensity of greenhouse gas emission, is it lowest per ton of production or per unit of production? Per unit of production, they should bring down the GHG emissions significantly. So these are the type of initiatives that are covered in the GreenCo rating system. Another very interesting thing about the GreenCo rating system is, what is the toxicity in the product, what is the toxic chemicals that are used in the factory. Many times we see some of the companies, they outsource the toxic related activity. Okay, they think they are clean. But unfortunately, the supply chain has toxic chemicals used in the activity, in the manufacturing process. So what we do here is, we assess the toxicity levels related to product, all the toxic chemicals used in the manufacturing process across the entire supply chain, right from the raw material stage to the final finished good, and finally how it is disposed. Everything is verified. So the toxicity levels are captured and it is reduced. The companies have to take concrete measures to, as a long-term aim is to reduce and eliminate the toxicity, and year on year they should reduce the toxicity levels. So these are the initiatives that are taken. Many good companies, I have seen excellent opportunity through Greenko. For example, many companies adopted greening the supply chain. The companies not only make profit within the company, they also help the supply chain, mainly small companies, by making the small companies go green, by reducing their cost of energy, their cost of water and materials. This bigger company actually saves more money and they actually get more profit. This has been done in many of the successful Indian engineering companies and pharmaceutical companies. So these are the steps that are being done. So we are working on greening the supply chain. This is a very important aspect. Another interesting thing is how they manage waste. First, do they have a clear accounting of their waste? How they are disposing the waste? Are they using the waste as a resource? So these are the simple questions that are being asked, and we verify this performance of the waste management, and accordingly the company is rated. Another interesting thing, we are also looking for some advanced concepts called life cycle analysis. If your product is there, what is the life cycle analysis of product? In the life cycle of the product, does it consume more energy? For example, you have a pump. To manufacture a pump or a motor, the energy consumed at the time of manufacturing is hardly 1% or 3%. But the life cycle, the pump consumes 95% more energy. So it is better to have an energy efficient pump. For example, you have a washing machine. The washing machine at the time of manufacturing may not consume any water or very small quantity of water. But the washing machine, if it is wrongly designed or badly designed, can have huge amount of consumption of water. It can require a huge amount of hot water. The hot water is more energy intensive. So in other words, sometimes the process embedded energy might be small, but the manufacturing energy might be small, but the operation energy of certain machines can be very, very high. That means what we call the life cycle analysis of the product. So here what we do is, we undertake the life cycle analysis of the product. We try to reduce the life cycle impact of the product or the manufacturing process or the manufactured item. So these are the initiatives that are covered in Greenko. These are some of the latest concepts in India. Many companies have not done, many companies are learning. For example, you have a lot of problem of e-waste, okay, electronic waste. Many companies are buying computers, many companies are buying electronic goods, but they do not know how to dispose. And they have a lot of molybdenum, they have a lot of mercury and a lot of toxic materials as a part of printed circuit board, and they become toxic material when they dispose. Now, in the case of waste management and in the case of what is specifically in the product stewardship, what you are trying to say is, the companies will take total responsibility for the product. For example, somebody is manufacturing an electronic good, he will take total responsibility for the product at the time of sale, at the time of after the sale, and after the life cycle of the product. He should have a system by which he can take it back, by which all the products and all the components in the system can be recycled back, or they can be safely disposed. So these are the advanced concepts that India is trying to implement, and these are the things catalyzed by the Green Company Rating System. So, and it is really taking India to global standards. It is taking India to international standards. So Indian companies can compete globally, and Indian companies are prepared for international standards and global standards. So, and we believe by pursuing Greenko, the company's profitability can be drastically improved.